Hello, everyone. So, as a way to further expand the views of modernist architecture through the work of a non-Euro American architect, today this presentation will highlight the work of Tatiana Bilbao, starting out in her home place, Mexico City, but as we will see, it will expand to areas all over the world. So, Bilbao was born in Mexico City in 1972 into a family of architects. Her grandfather, who is here on the left, was Tomás Bilbao Hospitalet. He was a Basque origin architect and a politician who actually fled Spain and settled in Mexico in the 1940s. Some of his work is also seen here on the left. As a young girl, Bilbao had her family influence, not only her interest in architecture, but the merging of it with politics. Bilbao states that her own predilection for architecture was evident when she took the gift of a Barbie doll as an excuse to build a city in which the Barbie could live in. Bilbao went on to pursue her interest as an undergraduate at the Universidad Iberoamericana, which is a Jesuit university in Mexico City. Here she obtained her Bachelor of Architecture and Urbanism in 1966 and became highly passionate about the power of architecture and its ability to transform. In 1998, during her graduate years, Bilbao received an honorable mention and was actually awarded the Best Architecture Thesis of the Year. Her thesis became part of the inspiration for her 2018 published book, A House is Not Just a House, which focuses on sustainable design and social housing. Her book is known among many designers, noting that, quote, "We can't forget that housing is a human right. Houses are not just for sale. Houses are for people, and we have to think of them first." So as I mentioned earlier, Bilbao grew up in an environment where architecture and politics were very important. Merging the two together, Bilbao found influence for a lot of her starting and ongoing work precisely through her political interest in Mexico City. More specifically, in 1985, as the government faced a great need for housing after a major earthquake, the Mexican government turned a lot of its focus to mass-produced housing. And so in the course of 6 years, over 1 million houses were built. But Bilbao hated seeing developers take the land and identity of Mexico in such ways. So as a response to this, Bilbao teamed up with other architects and Infonavit, which is the federal-owned bank for massive housing loans, to start reconvening the city centers and creating satellite urban environments. As Bilbao's work became more influential, different configurations of houses were designed with much higher resale values. Bilbao then started designing houses for under $8,000, which led to her work and focus on social housing. Here to my left is a brief timeline of Bilbao's different positions as her career took off, starting in the 1980s. In 1989, Bilbao worked as an advisor for urban projects at the Urban Housing and Development Department of Mexico City. During this time, she also worked as an advisor of the Secretary of Urban Development and Housing in the Federal District, which is an agency that oversees urban development and housing in Mexico City. In 1999, Bilbao co-founded the firm LCM, which explored uncharted geometries and generates unprecedented spaces. In 2004, Bilbao founded MXDF along with other architects. This is an urban research center which tends to the production of space, its occupation, defense, and control in Mexico City. Also in 2004, Bilbao founded her own firm, Tatiana Bilbao Studio, in order to work on projects in China, Europe, and Mexico. One of their first projects as a firm was an exhibition pavilion in Jinhua Architecture Park, led by artist Ai Weiwei, embedding pavilion features multiple levels with strategic blocking. In 2005, Bilbao joined the Architecture and Urbanism Department at her alma mater, the Universidad Iberoamericana, as a design professor. In 2008, Bilbao was appointed visiting professor at the Andrés Bello University in Chile. From then, Bilbao has also been a visiting professor at Rice University, UC Berkeley, Columbia University, Harvard University, to name a few. Some of Bilbao's more diverse work, which is pictured down here, include the Botanical Garden in Culiacan, in which Bilbao organized the gardens into an organic whole by connecting the natural inbuilt environment with pathways inspired by the branches of a tree. Other works include sustainable housing prototypes, a funeral home, a pavilion, a music hall, a sports center, and structures along a pilgrimage route in Mexico City. So to explore and analyze Bilbao's architectural approaches and respective influences, this presentation will observe and analyze three of Bilbao's architectural projects or cases, ranging from architecture for education, affordable housing, and a residential house case, all of which have become career and style-defining projects for Bilbao, focusing on the merging of geometry and nature. So to start off, we will look at Bio Nova, which is a campus building in the city of Culiacan in Mexico. The University of Monterrey Extension in Culiacan is one of the campuses of the largest national private university system in Mexico. As a city, Culiacan stands out for its agricultural production, and because of this, the university asked for a building that would bring together academic research and student work with the development of new technologies and professional life. The building then was designed to symbolize academic and professional life as a growing tree. We can see here in this image right here. The entire program related to the university is located in the building roots, while the professional program grows on top of it. Following the requirements of such a facility, the program was translated into an open geometric spaces, as we can see from the exterior shape of the building here. Each level works technologically and aesthetically with a specific sustainable system. In the end, each part of the building produces something to keep the building working by itself. The team was asked also to do a flexible rectangular space, so it was decided to design identical floors and shift them accordingly to the interior program and sun shading. The only exception to the shift was one floor, which was shifted 180 degrees because it holds the most important program in the building. That is the accelerator and the incubator, where students can have an office and the university will help them improve and connect their business to achieve the level of a profitable company. This floor also stands out in the building's facade, becoming a sunscreen that stands out at a distance as seen in the elevation here. Next, we will look at one of Bilbao's known social housing projects, which was a building that was part of La Confluence, a former industrial city district in Lyon, France, pictured here. A little background on the project. So in 2007, the city of Lyon began to reactivate this industrial city district, and the architectural firm Herzog and de Meuron were invited to coordinate the second phase of this extension project with a new master plan. And so in 2013, several architects were invited and selected to design the buildings, among them Tatiana Bilbao and her team. They were commissioned to design 3 buildings, 2 of which were social housing buildings, and the other a housing building for private acquisition. For this presentation, we will specifically be looking at the building number 3, which highlights Bilbao's work with social and affordable housing. Right here. Building 3 is a compact volume located on the eastern side of the plan. The simple and radical volume was sculpted by a play of terraces that nestle on the corners, sometimes superimposed, as we can see here. Not only does this characteristic bring playfulness to the facades, but also enable social interaction between neighbors. Inside, the terraces are covered with wooden cladding. The sensible texture contrasts with the stark concrete facade and gives the impression that the volume was carved to expose the content of the building. The building houses 21 apartments, which are distributed around an internal circulational core. Last but certainly not least, we will take a look at Bilbao's Ajijic house, located in Jalostitlan, Mexico. For this project, the client asked Bilbao for an adaptable, integrated, vernacular, and low-maintenance summer house to be located in Jalostitlan's Chapalas Lake. Here, Bilbao combines a simple housing program with geometry which responds to the way the house was constructed. The cubes of the house represent the single parts of the family, which exist as individuals but form a complete shape. The configurations of the cube give possibility for individual space by partly touching each other, partly overlapping, and dividing into each other. They create private, semi-public, and public spaces in a complex way through a simple act of merging geometries. The materials of the cubes, seen here, mostly through the exterior walls, are considered as contrast of the transparent and opaque, instead being reflective of the inner space and its surrounding and shining through. The openings throughout the house, as we can see here, orchestrate with the surroundings, exposing permeability towards the views and protecting against cold winds. These elements give the complex of the building an appearance of simplicity, and in the same way, a very high complexity inside and in its relation to the ambient. Bilbao notes from this project that constructing with surrounding material rediscovers, quote, an ancient system which we often forget about through technological advance. The colors and textures in the walls working with the landscape merge to bring house and environment together. With that said, we can now transition into briefly talking about Bilbao's work and how her recent projects can and could contribute to the Western canon. Bilbao's work definitely reflects the elements of modernist architects like Mies van der Rohe or Frank Lloyd Wright. Bilbao focuses on merging volume and geometries with nature and its surrounding materiality, with a purpose to create a structure that calls to its internal but also external spaces. Her work integrates the concept of a family life, buildings coming to life to symbolize the growth of life, and merging the simple with the radical. In a nutshell, her work is influenced by others, but also influential to the realm of architecture, not only in housing or large-scale projects, but in integrating social values, social collaboration, and sensitive design approaches to architectural work. Surely Bilbao offers something completely novel to our generation of architects, I think, and it's certainly not something Mies or Frank Lloyd Wright might have had an influence on, and is precisely something that the Western architectural canon is missing. Bilbao is an architect that is part of the profession's global consciousness, rightly so because of her wide-ranging work. But instead of following the international trend of iconic architecture, Bilbao opts for a more people-focused approach. It's almost ironic because her work as a whole includes projects around the world. And still for Bilbao, architecture is about building a community. Not only does that idea come through the purpose of underlying meaning of a building, but the built structure itself. Clearly, she has not lost sight of what really should stand out from her work in the beginning of her architectural career. Even Bilbao herself claims that we are at a moment of great cultural transition, and the objects we often look to provide some sort of continuity in this transition is architecture, one of the most stable objects in culture, which not only is appreciated and needed by the people and communities, but built from them, precisely. Thank you.